Hi, everyone. Renee Garrett-Storrs, Program Manager here at RecruitMilitary for DoD programs. I have with me Lisa Murray, Program Manager from the Institute of Veterans and Military Families, and we're going to have a chat about her program, America Serves. So welcome, Lisa. Thank you so much for taking time today to chat with me.
Thank you, Renee. I'm so excited to be here. I really appreciate the opportunity to tell you all about America Serves.
So let's get started with that. Tell me a little bit about the America Serves program.
Sure. So I work with the Institute for Veterans and Military Families at Syracuse University, and I'm a part of our community services team. And one of our programs, America Serves, which is like the overarching brand of our networks. And then there are 18 different individual networks that make up the America Serves communities. We have 17 of those networks that are across the country, and one of them is actually just opened in June. That's locally based here in Syracuse. And so this idea of America Serves really was born out of the need for there to be better access to care and resources and navigation of services. Now, that's not to say those services didn't already exist in communities. Really, there's, this term, a sea of goodwill out there, and it really does exist. There's many services out there for our military connected families. And really, that's what America Serves aims to do, is to connect those military connected families to those resources, services, and care already established in those communities.
So Lisa, what are ways that someone could get connected with services at America Serves?
Yeah, so the great part about each of the networks is there's an actual coordination center, and they're like the quarterback of the community, established by the community itself. Really, IVMF's role in 17 of the networks has been to support the community as they establish their network, and a coordination center is chosen by that community collectively. And so that's one way to get connected. So that, quarterback agency, if you're working with them in some capacity, you can get connected to the network. There's also the ability to self-refer as a client. There is a website for each network, and there is a 1-800 number established for each network. So, you can call and get self-referred, or just meeting with a provider that's in the network, in that community. You can get collectively put into the network for services.
So again, if I'm understanding correctly, there are 18 locations across the nation. If someone doesn't fall within one of those networks, Lisa, how could they access services? Can you talk a little bit about your community collaboration?
Sure. Yeah. So, this idea of community collaboration wasn't just something that, we at America Serves coined. There are many other different kinds of collaboratives. Really, for our 18 networks, there is a, common technology platform that we use at the heart of each network. So the organizations in the coordination center can refer, to each other within their local community or, beyond. But there are, more communities than just 18, of course, across the country. So, there's other types of organizations doing community collaboration. And so we work to, really be collaborative with them as well, and make sure that we're meeting regularly. I think, a good few to just name off the top of my head, and I'm not going to capture everybody, but, like America's Warrior Partnership, Combined Arms, Patriot Link, those are just a few of the bigger, names that I can think of off the top of my head. We're community collaborators as well, and they've developed networks. And so, we work to keep those relationships and forge new relationships so that if a client does come in and they don't fall within one of those 18 communities, they can still get connected to a network.
And that's good to know. That was going to be my next question, but you had answered that. So how does an organization that, again, outside, so an organization that's outside of your network, how would they go about to become a provider to give services?
Yeah, so that's the great part, because it's not just the technology piece, and it's not just the coordination center. Really, what makes this all come together is the providers. And so if you go to our AmericaServes.org website and just put in there's a contact us button right up at the top, and you're able to, just give us a little bit of information. Someone will reach out to you. And then depending on where you are, you'll be connected to that community, whether it be one of our 18 AmericaServes networks, or, if it's not, we would further refer you to one of those other community collaboratives to get you linked with them. Now, in terms of the 18 communities in AmericaServes, there is a registration process, and that really helps the coordination center and the providers that are making those referrals to each other aware of the services you offer. So that's where the technology is really key, because it assists the providers in choosing the right service organization to send their client to. Now, if I'm a provider and I'm a housing, organization, and I'm working with a client and they let me know they don't have any food, I might have built up a cadre of resources and business cards that I would refer to. But this really takes the guesswork out of that, knowing that eligibility changes. I mean, just look at what's happened with COVID. Our services have been kind of flipped upside down on. And so being able to have that information in real time as a provider, I can put that referral into the network for that food assistance and then get back to working with my client on their housing need. And all the while, as a provider, I'm getting updates letting me know that my client got connected to the other resources they needed. There are some protected services like legal and health and mental health that you wouldn't necessarily, as a provider, get updates on extensively. But, if you're working with a client and you've filled out a profile, that makes sure that the right clients get to you in the least amount of time, and you're able to really give more holistic approach to care for your military connected families.
And that's fantastic. It truly is phenomenal. I do know, just from perusing the website and some of my work in the past, that there have been some superb testimonials to the work that's being done to support our military communities. It's very impactful. And, we're talking about different services here. I'm moderating the chat, and it looks like somebody is asking about an opportunity to work from home because of a disability rating. How does a person go ahead and get connected? Like, what are the additional layers of services that are provided? I know we talk about services, but more intricately, what's provided to our military communities?
Yeah, so there's 21 different overarching service categories that the network offers support in. All, the different social determinants of health, housing, employment, education. I could go on, but those are like the big top three. But in terms of like, if someone, is looking to work from home and, they need to work with an employment provider and maybe, let's say, a benefits provider at the same time, the coordination center would complete that intake. They would work with the client to figure out, not just what they're eligible for, but what their preferences are as well. And so in determining what their needs and preferences are, it really helps the coordination center or that provider choose the right organization to send that client to. And it may end up being two separate organizations. And so they'd really work with the client to make sure that they're giving them the best fit services that they need in order to get those resources. And it's all based on that eligibility, preferences, locations, things of that nature, in order to ensure that they're getting connected to the right organization. Did that help answer? I hope so.
It absolutely did help. Okay. And I keep, I'm thinking in the back of my mind of, the family that's in transition, not necessarily transition, departing from the gates and moving forward. That's a process in itself, but life is one large transition. And you can I've been there, facing some financial hurdles, distress. So to know there's this program, there's direct line to community community support and services, whether it's something financial, whether it's, like you mentioned, housing being a huge concern for those. It's just good to know that you're able to collaborate all the entities together to make it easier, because the stress level's already high enough on the individual. So I truly appreciate, all that your program does and all the people embodied in it.
And it means so much to me. I'm, an Army veteran myself, and I've transitioned, right, and done a few transitions. And I was really a child when I went into the service still. I had just turned, 18, and so I was still very young. So it wasn't like I was transitioning back to civilian life as an adult and learned all these adult things, that over time. So really all those experiences were flooding and coming at me all at once. And so there is a lot of work that our collaboratives and many of the other community collaboratives are doing in order to connect to the ETS programs. And if there is a network in that community, which in many cases there are, then we're getting those folks that are transitioning connected to that collaborative instead of just like, one organization. And, being able to really wrap your arms around a newly minted veteran family, or even, and that's not all, we've got a veteran that we just started working with. He's 92, and he was, bless his little heart. And so he's so wonderful, and he's just been so wonderful to work with. And the technology is not as big of an issue as people would think for some of our older veterans. I know myself, I'm still trying to figure out what a GIF is. So, I have my challenges, but it's very easy, and consent is garnered from the client. So it's all HIPAA compliant, and all of those things are met, but it's not a barrier. It's really a very dynamic tool that helps providers and clients, really give services that are needed to our military connected families.
And that's just it, the military connected. There are numerous folks in the space, all happy to support the end goal, the mission, and that's our families. And, we're happy and delighted to support any capacity. We have such a great synergy right now between, RecruitMilitary and the IVMF. And, it's so great to collaborate and come together, to serve those who have served and their families. I'm moderating the chat as well. Just looking through here at a glance, there's questions here about an ETS program. There's questions in here about employment services, certainly something we can help to here at RecruitMilitary with, but also, to get connected in contact. So if somebody was to go to the AmericaServes website, it's AmericaServes.org. They should be able to easily peruse all of the information and grab contacts from there too as well. Correct, Lisa?
Very easily, yes. Right at the top, there's a label that gets you connected to all the locations, and then tiles pop up of all the different networks that are available. And right there, you can request assistance and give your consent, all in just a few minutes. And it captures just a little bit of information. And then somebody from the coordination center of that community will follow up with that client and be able to really kind of dig in and have a conversation about what their needs are. And I know for me, I've been in this space providing services for a little over 10 years now. And I remember when I first started, it was not necessarily what I thought I needed was actually what I needed, if that makes sense, right?
For sure.
We get tunnel visioned on what we think we need, and we don't really see all of the other pieces. And in many cases, the coordination center is able to find those co-occurring needs because they're asking the right questions. And so, you think you just need one thing, but in reality, there's many other, parts to this puzzle of who we are as people and the needs that we have. And a lot of the time, we don't know what's out there. There's so much available. It's just so hard to just kind of dig through all of that minutia and find the right resource. And that's what those coordination centers and networks are able to really help with, is taking that guesswork out many times our military connected families, when they reach out for help, and if they're not getting connected to the right organization, they're telling their story over and over again and getting met with these closed doors. And it's really not, for any fault of anyone. It's just the way that the systems are in order to be able to work and help, the most that they can. And so being able to have a network, it really helps to cut down on that recidivism, to cut down on those, needs not being met, the challenges of having to retell your story, reopen those wounds, hearing that you're not eligible for this and that, and feeling completely frustrated by the system, that have been put in place.
And where one door will close, another will open, correct?
Yep,
And
yep.
I just know from the work that you all do and the impact that's being made out there is tremendous. And it can go from something, as minor as, a simplistic service, a lead to another service, to you've dealt with the unfortunate heartache of folks facing hardship or even homeless veterans. And that's certainly something we want to get in front of and be able to assist with. So together, in this space as a community, I'm watching different folks as we speak going into the comments, helping each other. I see some of my colleagues in there. Everybody wants to help, but
no, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Everybody wants to support. There's a lot of support that's out there, but to centralize, you have such a great program to get there, to get the intake done, to kind of just decompress. This is what I'm looking for, and let the networks and the folks go to work and help that individual or that family. So truly appreciate it.
A great takeaway that I really love that you brought up is the fact that we don't go in as America Serves and try to rebuild or try to build something that wasn't there before. It's all about elevating, being able to help the community collaborate and quantify what they're able to do and what their needs are as a community as well. So, there's not always a technology and a community collaborative that ends up happening right away. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time to get there and what the, community needs as well. So just like where we've started to have a shift in how we serve, where we're not telling people what you need to do, we're really kind of like what they're willing and able to do, is the same kind of premise we use with communities, because sometimes communities just aren't at the same level and at the same, point where they want to start using this platform or that platform and do this or that. So it definitely is it's different for each community, and what is needed. So it's really great. I really love my job and being able to, get out there before COVID, a little bit now. Now we do a lot on the computer. Nonetheless, we're still learning about communities, and it's so interesting to me just to hear about the dynamics and the support that's out there and the resources. I've been surprised everywhere I've gone at the passion and the expertise of people in these communities and how they care and are just trying to do, the most good they can. So.
Exactly. And it's so easily for folks to get frustrated. I was that individual once upon a time, just that narrow focus that you spoke of. And I keep applying to jobs. Why am I not hearing back? Where do I go to? And it was something as simple as pointing myself in the direction of, another organization or looking into mentorship, a different way to look at it. But I had to discover that, but I wouldn't have discovered it if I didn't take that first glance at just one resource and let it evolve from there. And sometimes it's more beyond the clicks in a resource. You get to a person that you can resonate with, and that's what happened to me. I was able to reach somebody who I identified with, and it was just, they could hear my frustrations and kind of redirect and guide me. So
important.
Yeah, definitely something to look into. So for those of you who are online and joining us today, please head over to AmericaServes.org, take a look at the program, circle back if you have questions. There is a contact, correct? There is multiple ways to connect with the program as well. Any other recommendations, Lisa, you would make for somebody who's going to go ahead and interface with the website, with the program? Any other tips for them?
Yeah, so I think in terms, my advice is kind of two-pronged based on the the fact that the network is two-pronged, right? It's for providers and it's for clients. And in terms of the providers out there, give it a chance. What does it hurt to try something new? And in many cases, the reasons why someone might not participate, it's fear of the unknown, and just taking that step and filling out the form and giving it a try. There are thousands of providers using this technology, and in many cases, healthcare is also, moving towards this more holistic approach and being less combative and more collaborative, right, in order to do this work, and realizing that you don't have to be everything to everyone. There's really a lot of organizations out there to support you. And I think people are really starting to realize those end of things, because when we try to be everything to everyone, we don't really end up being anything to anyone. It's so easy for us to get caught up and want to do things out of the goodness of our heart, but realizing, that we can't do that. And in terms of the clients, I'd really just say, I know it's hard to keep going out there and feeling like you're, reaching all these closed doors. And some talk about the pridefulness of the military and not wanting to reach out and, ask for help. And I just say, there's nothing wrong with it. Renee told you about her situation. I've had my own, and there's just so many, military connected families that I know that, it's been life-changing by them reaching out and getting connected. We've all had a squad leader before if you were in the service, and, it's the same kind of system in a sense, where you're going to your squad leaders and you're getting that help that you need in order to stay mission ready.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much for speaking to both sides, for the providers and for the client as well. It's just, again, it's so humbling to not only hear about this program, but to see right before my eyes people, reaching out and helping each other just in something as simple as a chat dialogue. So, Lisa, I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
I encourage everybody again out there to circle over to AmericaServes.org, to go ahead and check in with us at RecruitMilitary.com and see how we can support you with your needs, your personal and your professional needs moving forward. So thank you so much, Lisa. Again,
thank you all.
Thank you to all who joined us, and we wish you a fantastic day.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.